Solomon's forbidden seal, the ring that bound demons. In the ancient heart of Jerusalem, where sunlight touched the stones of eternity, there lived a king whose wisdom pierced heaven itself. His name was Solomon, the son of David, the ruler who spoke not only to men, but to angels and to the wind. Legends tell that Solomon received a gift from the archangel Michael, a golden ring engraved with the seal of God. It shimmered with symbols no mortal could fully grasp, a bridge between the divine and the forbidden. The ring was said to hold the ineffable name, the sacred formula of 72 letters. With it, Solomon commanded the unseen, the spirits of air and flame, of water and shadow. They bowed before the light inscribed upon the seal. The Testament of Solomon, one of the oldest magical texts, tells his story in his own voice. He speaks of demons who built the temple of God, bound by divine authority, and of angels who watched, silent, as man learned to command their brothers of darkness. Each spirit revealed its name, its power, and the sign that subdued it. And Solomon recorded them all. 72 in number, the same spirits later described in the Ars Goetia, centuries after his reign. The Talmud calls him the wisest of men, one who understood the language of beasts and trees. He ruled not by iron or sword, but by the mastery of names. For in ancient thought, to name a thing was to rule it. The Quran calls him Sulaiman, a prophet who commanded the jinn and the winds. To the east he was not a sorcerer, but a servant of God, whose faith made nature itself obey. Every gust of wind carried the echo of his will. Some traditions describe the ring as bearing 4 stones, ruby, sapphire, emerald, and diamond, each tied to an element, fire, air, water, and earth. Their harmony reflected the balance within Solomon's soul. But balance is fragile. Power without humility tilts toward darkness, and the same light that binds angels also awakens shadows. Solomon began to study the nature of spirits, not as enemies, but as reflections of the human heart. Each demon he faced mirrored a temptation within himself: pride, greed, lust, or despair. Realize that the ring did not merely command others. It revealed the truth of the one who wore it. The seal was both crown and mirror. Some scholars believe the seal symbol, 2 interlocked triangles, represents this duality. One pointing upward, spirit rising to God. The other downward, the divine descending into matter. Together they form the star of wisdom, the union of opposites. This symbol survived ages, carved on temples, drawn in grimoires, worn by alchemists and mystics. It became known as the Seal of Solomon, later as the Star of David, but its true meaning was never political. It was cosmic. Inside the temple, Solomon worked with beings both radiant and terrible. The builders whispered that at night pillars moved by themselves, guided by unseen hands, and when dawn came, the stones were perfectly aligned. In the brass vessel, sealed with the ring's imprint, he confined those who defied him. From it rose voices like storms, and the sands around Jerusalem were said to tremble at their cries. Yet power invites envy. Among the spirits was one named Asmodeus, fierce, clever, and patient. Bound too long, he sought his moment to strike. One day, as Solomon bathed in the waters of Siloam, Asmodeus took his form. He stole the ring from the king's hand and cast him out. The ruler of spirits became a wanderer among men. Without the ring, the great king was ignored, mocked, and forgotten. He wandered deserts and markets, whispering wisdom to those who would not listen. Only then did he learn the cost of command. Years passed, until one morning, hungry and alone, he bought a fish from a fisherman. Inside its belly, the ring, returned not by angels but by fate itself. He placed it upon his finger, and the world remembered its master. The demons fled, the winds obeyed. But Solomon was no longer the same. He had learned that even divine power must kneel before humility. Kabbalists teach that the 72 spirits are not monsters of hell, but fragments of divine energy scattered through creation, sparks of the sacred name itself. To summon them is to face the aspects of the soul, wrath, ambition, desire, and fear. To command them is to understand them, not to destroy, but to integrate. Thus, the true magic of Solomon's seal lies not in domination, but in unity. The microcosm and the macrocosm, heaven and earth, light and shadow, all reflecting one truth. The ring, say mystics, still exists, not as metal, but as consciousness. Every human heart carries the same seal, waiting to awaken through wisdom and discipline. And every time a soul conquers its inner demon, a spark of that ancient ring shines again. That, they say, is the true legacy of Solomon, the alchemy of spirit. So when you see the hexagram, remember, it is not a symbol of power but of harmony. It reminds us that no light exists without shadow and no knowledge without mystery. The legends of Solomon's seal survive because they speak to every seeker. Each generation finds its own meaning within that golden circle, whether faith, philosophy, or the hunger for forbidden truth. Archaeologists still search for traces of the ring, fragments of bronze, inscriptions half erased by sand. But the true relic, perhaps, lies within the human story itself, the endless quest to touch the infinite. And somewhere in the silence of the desert, when the wind moves just right, they say a whisper echoes through the dust. The seal still turns. This is the story of Solomon's forbidden seal, the ring that bound demons, and the wisdom that freed a man. Subscribe to the Occult Vault, for the mysteries of the 72 spirits await. Your curiosity is the first seal to open.